And we're live. Hello, everybody. This is Tom Peacock from 7 Clean Seas. If you just bear with us, we're going to be starting shortly. I'm joined today by Talar from the Supreme Committee of Delivery and Legacy in Qatar. And we've got a lot of very exciting things to share with you today. So just hang on for a couple of minutes. We'll let the viewers build up, and then we'll get started in a moment.
So cool.
Yeah, it's now the awkward silence.
That's right.
Yeah, it's going to be a good one today. Looking at a major project we're working on, something really one of a kind, groundbreaking in the sustainability sphere, and something we're very excited to share with you. So just hang on for a moment. We'll make sure that the audio is all good to go as well. Just waiting for the nod from our technical specialist. All righty, another 30 seconds. We will get going. Audio is good, thank you. Actually, I needed that feedback. We can probably get started because I think this will be recorded, and anybody that you want to share it with will still have an opportunity to see it. So for those of you who don't know, my name is Tom Peacock-Nazil. I'm the founder of an ocean cleanup organization and sustainability consultancy called 7 Clean Seas. We're based in Singapore, and we're operating some of the world's most plastic polluted locations. And on this journey for clean oceans, one thing that we are focusing on is upstream intervention. How do we work with organizations, governments, and events and people to identify the amount of plastic that they're using and help them physically make reductions wherever possible? I'm joined today by Talar from the Supreme Committee of Delivery and Legacy here in Qatar. One of our partners on a very exciting project, which we'll go over in just a second. But first, I'd love Talar to introduce yourself, please.
Thanks, Tom. So hi, everyone. Welcome to our live stream here today. It's the first time I've done something so exciting, so we're really excited to be doing something different. So as Tom rightly said, I'm a sustainability and environment expert here at the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy. We are quite a cool team, I think, of fun people who get to do who get to do things that we like. We are headed by Engineer Badur Almir. She's our sustainability director, and then my colleagues are Orion Lundberg, Abdurrahman Al Muftah, and Jassim Al Jassim. All people that really care about the work that we're doing, and so it's really neat to be able to be in the sphere where we're making change. Yeah. So the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy is tasked with the host country role of hosting the FIFA World Cup. The FIFA World Cup next year in 2022. And so this partnership that we've been very lucky to have now with 7 Clean Seas is part of the steps that we're taking in order to make this the most sustainable World Cup. And now with our partnership, also the first mega event that is going to be officially plastic neutral. So this is very exciting for us, and I'm looking forward about sharing more information about this today.
Yeah, it's absolutely amazing to get the opportunity to work with such an influential platform, which is the World Cup. Everybody tunes in from around the world. And to be able to put sustainability at the center of that conversation, of course, alongside football, is really an opportunity to take things to the next level and spread the awareness and education that we need to genuinely make an impact at scale in this world. We're focusing on plastic with this partnership. Of course, that's our bread and butter at 7 Clean Seas, and that's what we're tasked with the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy. And exactly how we're going to be doing that, I'll explain in detail a little bit later on. But I'd love to hear, first of all, from Talar and yourself, and I guess on behalf of the entire team, kind of where's the passion for plastic coming from? Why are you looking at plastic as a sustainability target for reduction?
Right. So hosting the World Cup in a small country like Qatar creates an extraordinary kind of pressure on the infrastructure that we have. So we are working with all of our partners, FIFA, Q22, who are also the hosts of the event and the basically the ones who come and make it a party. Sure. And so I think we've had an incredible responsibility of all the construction work that we've done to develop our stadiums, but now we have to move into operations, and that also is a big responsibility. And so in such a small country, we have an extra role to try and prevent the waste that we are going to generate from going into a landfill. Mm-hmm, and so we've done a lot of work in our construction sites. We've reached something between 70 to 90% of our construction waste diverted from landfill. So that's something we're very proud of. But now really the focus is going to be on an event and on hosting a tournament. And we all know how much waste goes into these things. And we all know that if you're in a very, very big country and you have to fly between cities and every city has its own infrastructure, it's a little easier. But when you're in a compact environment like ours, we really need to be extra careful to prevent waste going into our landfills. And plastic specifically is such an important issue. We are also a peninsula, so we're surrounded by oceans. Our country is small, so little things show up when it's small. There's not much place to hide. And really, because we spend a lot of time in our beaches, we want to make sure our beaches are clean. One of the things that we see in our beaches a lot is plastic. So this is something very, very important to us to try and prevent, involve, and as well create a legacy, so that we use the World Cup to start everything going and get everyone excited about it. But then the legacy is very important.
No, absolutely. And I think one thing that I learned when I first came here to Qatar to start this project is actually just the level of biodiversity in these waters is phenomenal. We're talking whale sharks, dugongs, sea turtles. It's a marine environment that is really worth protecting. So, I mean, for you guys to be picking up the baton on this is fantastic. It does make me think, though, kind of, if we look back historically at mega events and other international tournaments, what has been done? Has anybody looked specifically, I guess, at not just reduction, but also neutralization and compensation of their plastic footprints?
Well, I think this is where we're this really interesting space to be doing something very different. So we've seen waste reduction. We have worked a lot also to reduce the waste coming into our stadium specifically, but in events, we've seen lots of efforts been put into zero waste events, into making sure that it's either plastic free, or you bring in your recycling, or you're able to take out your recycling, or finding a solution. But in this space of mega events, and in this space of being actually certified, having the plastic neutral credits, I think we're very happy to say, like, the first time.
So I mean, to have the world's first tournament focusing on plastic neutrality to be the World Cup, I mean, you're really starting and setting an example on the biggest stage possible. Just to go into a little bit of technical detail, people might be wondering, okay, well, what is offsetting? How are you looking at reduction? Now, really, our work at Seven Clean Seas with the Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy can be broken down into a few different verticals. Now, of course, there is a big educative and awareness element of this project. Everything we do is with a keen focus on education, because if we're not spreading the message about conservation, about ocean plastic, about reduction, how can we expect people all around the world to learn about this issue, become passionate, and then start making the decisions and operationally within their life and maybe their businesses and everything else to reduce their plastic footprint, essentially. So the education side of this project is enormous for us, but really that's only one element, and the technical side is where I get very excited. So we have three main goals here, which is, first of all, to estimate that the amount of plastic that will be consumed at FIFA World Cup. Now, there is going to be an enormous influx of people into the country. Now, that obviously will create a large consumption of consumer goods, many of which will be in plastic. So how do we leverage the events in the run-up to the World Cup to try and estimate, first of all, what are we expecting? Because if we can figure out what we're expecting, then we can put plans in place that can alleviate that material, collect it, aggregate it, so that it gets recycled and doesn't just end up in a landfill. Of course, we want as high a diversion rate from landfill as possible. We'd love to see like 90% if possible, if not more. I mean, but there's definitely a lot of work to do.
We're on it.
So the estimation piece is huge, and we're working with the upcoming Cup in November and December. We'll be doing a physical waste audit on one of the enormous stadiums, which is very exciting. I mean, it does involve us standing knee deep in physical waste post an event, but it gives us the opportunity to not just look at, okay, what's the weight of plastic that we're collecting, but what are the types of plastics? What are the polymers? What are the formats? Is it hard plastic, soft plastic? Is it flexibles? What are the brands, even if we're looking at that? Like, can we make any specific recommendations off this data once we've collected it and say, well, you know what, we're using these plastic A, for example, kind of drinks cartons that are very difficult to recycle. Can we make simple kind of procurement recommendations to switch that to an easily recyclable material, or a polymer that we know is recycled domestically here in Qatar, so that there is a much higher chance of that diversion actually happening. So the estimation is a hugely important piece. It's going to gather data on a granularity that has never been gathered on any event, period. And that is what's really exciting, because it will almost provide a framework for other mega events in the future and just large events around how much how should we measure our plastic? What are the data points that we're looking for? And if we can standardize that data collection across many different events, it will give us an opportunity to learn from each other and to implement reduction strategies. And reduction strategies is really the aim of the game here. With this data, we can go into phase 2. Once we've got the estimation in the data, we can look at reduction. So through a detailed analysis of this data that we collect in the estimation side and the waste audit, the glamorous waste audit, of course, we can find alternative materials. We can look at eliminating unnecessary plastics. We can work with merchandising, which is one thing. I hosted an event this week with Orjan Lundberg from the Supreme Committee, also to work with the merchandisers for the event to say, okay, well, how do we provide less packaging, less material use, more sustainable alternatives to what they would usually do? Because the reduction piece is really where we can make the biggest direct impact.
And I'd just like to step in on that as well. We've also been doing a lot of work on waste reduction throughout the preparation for these events. And so the teams at Q22, FIFA, and host country, we've been working through what we call a sustainable procurement code. And so any procurements that have gone into place have all been encouraged and directed and suggested to remove as much plastic as possible from their chains. And this is, as you know, groundbreaking. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of work to go in. And so actually what we'll be measuring will also be how effective has been some of the preliminary work that's been done. And then where are our sensitive points, or what do they call, key points, where all the stuff goes through, where is the stuff that we weren't able to pick up earlier. So I think it's a great step in the story that we've all been taking. No, for sure. And it's going to be so nice to look at this data retrospectively and say, well, we can see the decisions you've already made prior to engaging this kind of audit, and we can see there's been a tangible benefit already. So really getting back to the overall structure, that estimation piece, we need it for the data collection, and it enables the strategy on reduction. We can then, through procurement decisions and various other more ambitious projects, look at how do we maximize the capture rate, the diversion rate of the materials that are being used. And it leads us on to the next thing, because once we've got to a point where we understand plastic footprint and we've reduced everything that is feasible to reduce, the sad fact is we live in a world where there will still be a plastic footprint, and a plastic footprint that is unrecyclable to a degree. And the reason is because polymers are so complex. Products and packaging is so difficult to recycle, particularly in a post-consumer environment when we're aggregating this plastic that can be contaminated, it can be mixed, it can be just unrecyclable by design. So the fact of the matter is there is definitely going to be a residual plastic footprint. And that's really where the innovation behind this partnership comes in, because for the first time ever, we're saying it's not good enough just to have a residual plastic footprint and say, okay, well, we diverted 90% of our recyclable plastics, the rest of it will go to landfill. What we're saying is, although that is likely the end of life solution for residual plastics that are unrecyclable, let's go a step further. Let's get ambitious with this, and let's look at what is called plastic offsetting. Now, the idea with plastic offsetting is that you find a necessary or an unavoidable plastic footprint, like the residual plastic waste that we'll be working with. You weigh that plastic through various different analysis and waste audits to get a number of tons of plastic that have been consumed because of the existence of the World Cup in this case. We then have a mandate to go and generate plastic credits. Now, plastic credit is a tradable, tokenized almost kind of representation of a ton of plastic that has been diverted from environmental leakage, which means literally not getting aggregated somewhere in the world and ending up in the environment, or has been in the environment already, and we've recovered that from the environment and put it into a suitable end-of-life solution. So what we're going to be doing with the World Cup, taking this residual plastic footprint and physically going and stopping that amount of plastic from entering or removing it from the environment. Now, 7 Clean Seas is a specialist in ocean plastic pollution prevention. That is
our passion. That is where we build our projects. It's not the easiest way, but it's where we think we can get the most impact. So actually, this plastic that is going to be recovered from the World Cup is going to be directly impacting the marine environments in which we are building our projects. So there's a huge environmental and social impact off the back of this work. And it links back to everything around legacy, which essentially is the overarching goal of this whole thing. I mean, do you want to talk a little bit about some of the legacy work that's already gone on?
Absolutely. And so I think, the title of our organization is sustainability. Everything we do is sustainability. The Supreme Committee for Delivery and Legacy. And so while a big part of our mandate was delivering the infrastructure ready to host the tournament, really we need to make sure that we leave a legacy behind.
Yeah.
And so it's great that if we can do a one-time project, but that's really not what we want to do. We wanted to build a legacy in Qatar, part of the work that we'll be doing with the awareness raising and the way that we're going to be able to calculate the exact amounts of waste that we have left, and the way that we're going to be working on offsetting, first of all, leaves a legacy in the plastic world space, right?
Yeah,
and so
absolutely.
How do we do this methodology? How do we make it work? How do we check it? And then hopefully this is something that can be applied in many, many events ahead. So that's like a plastic legacy, but also for Qatar, the legacy of having all of this work done, having a recycling industry that participates with us and goes on the journey with us, and then having the impact and the knowledge and the experience, I think is great parts of legacy to come.
No, it's very exciting to me to think that we could have a positive impact on not just infrastructure, but future events. Writing a rule book for people to use and improve upon and really carry the baton forward from event to event, because naturally events are big users of plastic. And if we can find methodologies that can be applied for many, many different events in the future, then the actual impact and the legacy of the World Cup will go way beyond kind of November 2022. And it leads on to one special project that we're working on domestically here within Qatar. So there is a plethora of organizations here already active in sustainability, whether that is focusing on ocean plastic or circularity or waste management or like material innovation. There's so much happening here already. And because of the importance of legacy and also of sustainability to the World Cup in general, we want to aggregate all of these people and really give them a platform to amplify the work that they're doing here domestically, but also overseas into the guests that will be coming to this country. And to that end, we're going to be launching a community here called One Tide. And the idea is we want to bring together this community of people who are already doing so much as One Tide in one direction, which is to look at sustainability, to look at plastic reduction and everything else, and really find ways to amplify their work and help them grow in the future. So One Tide is going to be a really exciting project. It's kind of where my passion stems from. This is almost an origin story of 7 Clean Seas in community building back in Singapore. But I'd love to know kind of what is the importance of One Tide to you, and why is it so important to tackle and to bring people together for sustainability and plastic waste?
Well, I think it's very important to consider that sustainability has to happen at every level. So it could be a requirement in a guidebook, but it could also be teaching your children where to put their plastic bottles. So it is really the responsibility of everyone. And I think plastic is used by everyone as well. And so it really is everyone's job to be able to make a difference. And this is 100% like the ripple effect or the butterfly effect, where one little change really can make a huge impact if lots of people are doing the same thing. So it's not about revolutionizing the world. We're not the intention is not to reinvent the wheel. There's lots of really good organizations doing really good work here. And really this is just to be able to use the good of the involvement and the excitement of the World Cup to be able to have one place where all of this can come together. And so one place where a community can search, one place where a community can educate each other on what to do, and one place where all the events that are happening can have the same kind of involvement and platform and awareness raising. That's sustainable too. Then we're not always, not having to do the same kind of marketing or hearing the same kind of event. So one place one tide, one space where this all can come in. And then this lives on, right? It's not just for the World Cup. Once the structure's there and all the partners are there and everything works together, as I'm very confident it will, because it's a lot of excited people who want to do good work for the country. That lives on, and it's a legacy program. And it's a one place for the community to get involved.
Yeah, it's a huge legacy, and I'm really excited to see it come to fruition over the next 12 months, and then long after the World Cup has left, to come back and see what is happening with this. We actually have a question. I'm gonna go off piece a little bit here, from MIQ Bolin, because it's a little bit relevant about this, and he's asking kind of how can media bring this message to the rest of the world? Have you given pre-press releases of all of what you're planning, to focus on basically how we can push out this message? Now, we've definitely done press releases. Yeah, I think we're going to be doing a lot more.
I'm hoping.
This program will be like a snowball. It's going to build and build and build and build. And one thing I'd absolutely love to be able to do is show what we've been able to build with One Tide on this community level, and have people in international locations look at it and recreate it. We don't need to go and bring One Tide to other locations and other countries, but we want to inspire people to take up arms in the countries that they're kind of based, and pull together communities and really get people moving forward towards the same goal, whether that is One Tide, whether that is plastic pollution or carbon emissions or gender equality. It could be absolutely anything, but we want to show that the sustainability world is better when we work together, and it's better when we collaborate. And I think anybody in sustainability will agree with me that sometimes it can be a little bit siloed and a little bit fragmented, and we'd achieve a lot more if we did all have platforms to integrate, work together, and amplify.
Yep, 100%. 100%. It's a lot of really interested people doing, with the same goal, and then this is a natural way for it to go to a point that is much more impactful.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's kind of the motivation for the Supreme Committee, because I think a lot of people watching would potentially think, okay, well, the technical sustainability, that's your responsibility, that's what you're really pushing towards. Why the step into the community side?
Great question. So it's really, sustainability isn't just about having a green building or having a system that works. It really has to come from the community building. It has to come from human involvement. It has to come with social development. It has to come with making economic sense. And all of these are pillars that are in our strategy, but also everybody's sustainability strategy as well. It has to make economic sense. It has to make environmental sense. It has to make human and social sense. And that's something very important to our country as well. And then also now this is the step to be able to share the message and get everyone involved. I mean, yes, it's football. Yes, it's an amazing space to have people, but also we're making change for our country. And once everyone's involved, I mean, if have you ever been in a landfill? It's a space where if you go into, then you really don't want to throw anything ever into your garbage again. Or visiting a recycling facility and seeing actually how the waste is segregated and how much difference it would make if you took the step to put it in a separate bin before, and how that system all works. So I think it's part of that education and that awareness. If that doesn't happen, then whether we have a fantastic system in a stadium, but it takes like 10 seconds for you to decide where to put the bin and you don't know where it's going to go, and that confidence isn't there, then the system doesn't work. It has to flow. And I know we use circular economy a lot, but really you've got to close the circle for sustainability
100%.
To work.
And
then the community are the people who this is going to impact. And all of this is done to build a community. And all of this work is done so that we have international people who come to watch a game, but also see the local culture and what we've been able to do. So it's in all ways, I mean, something we're very passionate about, but it's changing the way that people do things and creating spaces for people to be comfortable in using different kinds of materials or making a business aware of what other opportunities are out there. I think there's all sorts of good and also all sorts of fun, I think, because this is all at the end something that we really enjoyed, but it makes a change. It makes an impact. And if we all work together, it makes an even bigger one.
100%. And I always love to think these kind of, these projects that have tangible outcomes, it's great to look back and try and work out how successful you've been and the impact that you've had. But there will always be an element of intangible outcomes. The person who was inspired by the work that we've done somewhere here in Qatar or overseas or anywhere in the world, and they've gone on and done something that's turned into an amazing initiative. And it really is that you mentioned it's the butterfly effect. It's like putting it out there and just allowing people to take over, get creative, and try and find their own solutions. Because I think all of the issues we face as humanity, whether that is plastic pollution, ocean plastic, overconsumption, I guess carbon emissions and climate change, they're gargantuan issues. No one can fix this on their own. No country can fix it on their own, and no solution will fix it in itself. So we really do need to have a plethora of solutions and a plethora of different people looking at things from different angles, and creating platforms to achieve that is great. And I'm just thrilled that the World Cup, something that I personally love as well. I mean, I'm a little bit of a fanboy on it, I'm going to admit, but they're doing so much on sustainability when potentially they didn't have to. So I think we'll wrap up the technical chat there. If anybody's got any more questions, we'll be sticking around a little bit. So please drop some questions into the chat or comment on this video, and we'll try and get back to you. But before we wrap up, I mean, for me, I know why I'm passionate. I just lived in Southeast Asia for a long time, been confronted with ocean plastic pollution. But where does your passion come from?
It comes from making change. It comes from, actually, I grew up in Qatar.
Okay.
So
wow.
for me to be able to come back as a professional and be able to contribute to also making change here as much as we can, I think for me, that's my personal satisfaction.
Yeah.
And my name actually means evergreen.
No, it doesn't. That's amazing.
Talar means evergreen in Armenian.
That's beautiful.
And so it makes sense.
Yeah.
I'm not very good with plants. So hopefully this way we can make change in the structures that we built and all the work that we're going to do together to plastic. And, when you live in a country, you want to take care of it. Yeah. Like you've lived in Southeast Asia, you know what to do, and you know where the touch points are where you can make change socially, economically, environmentally. And it's the same for us. So for me, it's like taking care of my home. And so for us, it's a great story.
No, I love it. I really do. Look, there's a lot of people that care about this world working on this project. Stay tuned. There's a lot of exciting things coming, a lot of hard work, and unfortunately, a lot of rummaging through waste for myself and my team.
We've done it all. We can do it again.
But it is going to be great. And one thing I'm very excited is the launch of One Tide Community. So we do want to bring together the community here in Qatar together as One Tide. Please watch this space. Get ready. We're going to launch it with a bang. We're going to try and make as much noise as possible and do something really special. So get involved if you are here in Qatar. And if not, please pay attention next time you're watching the football match at the World Cup in 2022. And just know that we're doing everything we possibly can to tackle the sustainability issues associated with the tournament.
Thanks, Tom. Thanks to you and your whole team for helping us on this journey. One Tide is the way we're going ahead with plastics.
One Tide.
One Tide. Bring it on.
We wouldn't be able to do anything without the visionary kind of ambition of the Supreme Committee. So
very blessed to be in part of it. It's no other place in the world we could have done. We could have done this. So for all of us, it's very exciting.
But no, thank you so much for tuning in, Talar. Amazing, or Evergreen. Thank you so much for being my guest today.
My pleasure. Thank
you. Get involved. Join a community where you are, here in Qatar, overseas. It doesn't matter. Just join a community, roll up your sleeves, maybe not jump into a pile of trash to audit it. And together, if we come together as One Tide, we might just make a difference.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you so much, guys.